Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today, I have the whole town. I'm going to introduce you to Fern Vazquez. She is kind of the charge of the CHEO Gardens, the community. Tell me again, what's all that CHEO stand for?
Citizens helping each other.
Okay, that's the community garden we have. We have 2 again this year?
3.
Oh my gosh, 3. Well, Fern, just introduce this crew you have with you, because we need to do that because we want to encourage volunteers to come and help you. So tell us.
Well, to my right is Carol Olson. She's been a faithful volunteer since day one. She brings her sons out and usually a couple of other people. And so she is one of my star volunteers.
Good.
In terms of how often she comes and the work that she puts in it. Next is Rick Hewitt. He's the owner of that third garden. It's out there near where the fire station is on 619, off of 619.
You've scattered all around the county, and you got one here, one there.
It just turns out that way.
Okay.
And so we're filling up his garden with some, squash and cantaloupe and green beans, peppers. And so that'll be a large contributor this year. And next to Rick is Mike Graham, and I don't really think he needs any introduction.
But he's your voluntold
he
person.
He is the one who basically spearheaded the garden. I do what Mike says.
Well, let me clear up something right now.
Yeah, we know that's not true.
That is not true at all. I work for Fern.
Oh.
Just to get him to work. But no, he's true. He likes to stay behind the scenes. He doesn't want to take credit for anything, but he's a hard worker.
Oh, he's a tremendously hard worker.
Tell us a little bit about these gardens, and first of all, what are we looking for right now to get started? We already started a little thing, but the gardens happen any day now. We're going to be busy.
Yes, we'll be getting our plants in this week. We're talking tomatoes, peppers, the squash, zucchini, cucumber. And our big planting day is this coming Saturday. That's the 13th of May. We're going to start around 8 o'clock. And we're going to start at 8 o'clock at Luray and probably at Virginia Hill Garden, the one near the church. And then we'll carry people over to Rick's garden, and then we'll do the planting there.
Okay. Well, in case people don't really know what the CHEO Gardens are, just kind of give us a background of what they are and what you do with all that food. You got tons of food.
Yes, literally tons, not just an expression of exaggeration. Literally tons. So over the past 3 garden years, we've had probably about 10,000 pounds, which is 5 tons of food. And Mike, you can feel free to fill in where I might be leaving a gap. But this happened in spring of 2020 when we were being hit with a pandemic, and there was real fear that we might have supply issues. We didn't know where all this was going. That we were concerned about the county, people of the county getting food. So we decided, and it was really Mike's initiative, and then he pulled me in on. We started our first garden on Luray Avenue. And we did about 2,000 pounds of food from that garden that year. We had just a lot of volunteers, people willing to help. And we've had those same people and added more, to help out with the gardens. And so that was the premise of the garden. And Mike is the one who coined the term, citizens helping each other. It just happened to,
end up
it had a nice little ring to it, the CHEO Garden.
Yeah.
And so we've taken it from there since. And I think year 2 we added the second garden at Virginia Hill, and now we have a third garden.
So what do we do with this food?
We take it to the different distribution points: CCAP, Loaves and Fishes, Salvation Army, and now we've added some churches. First Baptist Church does a feeding program throughout the year. And so during the summer, we bring them, squash, zucchini, and we bring them all the vegetables.
Right.
And when they have excess, the people who come in to eat, they'll have like a little table where they can take the produce with them. Right. And we get produce to people that way as well.
produce is one of the things that is lacking in the food bank system. You know, we got it in a can, but it's not the same as fresh, is it? You know, it's great.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, I can just imagine. I can remember when you were down there on Lou Ray trying to haul water in there, and all of a sudden one person shows up and said, "Oh, I've got an irrigation system," and then another person shows up and says, "I've got a fence," and another person shows up and said, and it's just kind of taken off since then.
Well, it's really blossomed. You know, like you said, we thought we'd just stop after the pandemic.
Sure.
But a couple of things, I have a couple call outs. Number one is CCAP. We started all of this and it was all privately funded. We raised the money, we did everything. Really got none of the governments involved at all.
That's why it worked.
That's right.
We won't go there.
We're not going to go there.
That and the hard work of volunteers.
Yes, the volunteers.
Right.
It was really the volunteers. So a couple call outs I have is our volunteers who have showed up over the course of the 2-3 years that we've been doing this. Because without them, we can't do it. It's just too big of effort. And what's really cool is when you have 6 or 7 people, you get it done in an hour and a half. You got 1 it takes, or 2, it takes a lot longer. So the more we have, the quicker it is. The fellowship is really great. I mean, we have all walks of life out there. People help, it's all different colors, shapes, sizes of people come out, kids, older adults. And it's funny, I guess a certain general just came out with that big statement, but the third pandemic that we have here that's associated with cigarette smoking and sitting like we are is loneliness. As we look into the community, we find that our younger kids really don't know how to interact with each other because of the pandemic and the fact they get in their houses and they start talking on the computer. So having people of all ages come out has really created a great opportunity for people to hone their interpersonal skills, that's part of the benefit other than just seeing it. The other funny thing is when the kids come out, some of them don't have any idea where food comes from.
The grocery store.
You start out with this, and that turns into a green bean. Oh yeah. So that's the fun part when we're talking to these kids. And so, but the other couple call-outs besides our volunteers, of course, is CCAP, because when we first started this out, it grew so quickly. We needed a not-for-profit status, and they, with hard work of Fern, we kind of incorporate. Now we're a division within CCAP that provides this. And if you ever get a chance to get down to CCAP, they have a little grocery store now at the new Avtech site.
Right, they at least got a site now, a space.
Yes.
Yeah. And you walk in like a regular grocery store with the stuff they normally get, and it seems that our fresh vegetables is what everybody looks for because they have a big basket of green beans and everything. So it's really good. The last call out is for Bonnie plants. One of our biggest costs every year has been the cost of these live plants. And we had made a call down to just saying, hey, we're buying them at Lowe's, which is like supporting local business. But on the other hand, I was saying, we're a community garden. Can you help us and give us a discount? And they said, we'll do better than that. We'll donate them to you.
Great.
So now this is the second year where we're waiting for our shipment to come up on Thursday. We'll pick it up and we'll go in the middle of the night and pick it up off or drop off. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Everything's up front. Okay.
It fell off a truck.
It just fell off a truck. It's going to be on this location at this time when it falls off. No, they are absolutely fantastic. We appreciate them, and it really saves us a lot of money. And that's what really enabled us to be able to go for a third garden and be able to do this. And, of course, thanks a lot to Rick, because he had a massive garden. He did it by himself. So I said, we're going to give you a break this year. We're going to help you out with half of it. So, that's where we kind of set that up with him. And that's where hopefully the only advantage we have with the Luray garden is the fact that people walk their dogs. They see all of us old folk down there working their butts off, and they feel sorry for us, and then they come on down and help us.
That's good.
We have a little more trouble at the airport. We're hoping to get the airport traffic that comes in and the fire station right next door to get them to come over a little bit.
Well, when people see things happening, they want to be involved. I think. Yeah. So we can get involved. So we got room for more volunteers.
Much
can't
more
have
room.
too many.
Can't have too many. Because I tell you what happens if you increase your numbers in volunteers, then people like Carol don't. They don't have to work quite as hard and devote quite as much time, because you can, many hands make light work.
It does do that.
As
That's
you've
true.
heard. But I want to call out to Rick, because he introduced watermelon and cantaloupe. And do you want to tell us a little bit
Don't
about?
forget about the eggs too.
Oh yes, the eggs, definitely. Maybe we should talk about the eggs first, because it doesn't really have to do with garden planting
Chicken
itself.
garden.
Yes,
Chicken
but
garden.
talk about what you've done with the eggs.
Yeah, so I was just selling them there for a while, just to some friends and family and things like that, and then I just decided that I was gonna give them to CCAP, and they just gobbled them up and just took them. People very thankful for fresh eggs, and so I just came under the community garden and gave it on behalf of them. And so I give about 5 or 6 dozen a week to CCAP, and with egg prices being $10 is what they
Sure.
were a dozen.
Sure.
The people were very appreciative, from what I understand. Yeah. And in the garden, I'm just happy to transform my front yard, or half my front yard, into a 3/4 of an acre.
Less
of
grass to
garden.
cut, right?
A whole lot of grass to cut. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to be putting a lot of vegetables out there, a lot of watermelons. I have about 10 different varieties of watermelons I'm putting out there, and I really enjoy that, and people love it. It's a nice summer refreshing thing to have.
Sure, that's great.
So,
And again, once people get involved, I remember being out to the garden, and you had a lot of homeschoolers that were coming out, and some families bringing their students, their homes, their family, and like you said, they wonder, like, here's this makes into this, and it's an interesting thing, and they learn a lot, I think.
Mike Williams this year has a group of kids who are raising seedlings for pole beans.
Right.
Like, they've already planted, and so we have a little plant, and we've devoted a section of our garden to the pole beans that are coming up. So that's another way of just involving the community, and really the ground level is the kids, to show them what can be.
Well, see, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, as people got involved in these things as a young age, we can get them into volunteerism. I think it's really an important thing missing in a lot of communities, that we just don't have it. And we just had that volunteer fair over the weekend, and there is just unlimited places you can volunteer. And of course, the CHEO garden is the top of the list at the moment, right? Start there, because you're outdoors. It's great.
Yeah.
It's just great. So we got a big plans. We got a big planning coming up. Where do people go? Where do you want them to show up at?
Well, we have different designated places. I'm going to let you speak to the Virginia Hill Garden. You go ahead, if you want to go ahead and start
And our
with that
volunteers.
one.
Let's say
Yeah.
for Saturday, if you want to help
Yeah.
out in the planning,
Well,
what do they do?
First, I said just go to our Facebook page, which I think you can
Right, we'll
publish
put
that
that
on this.
right.
Yeah.
And then the 3 gardens are geographically located where you near your house is, so that we would say show up to the place that's close to your house. The one out at the Virginia Hills Church, of course, is out in Rockland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so anybody out in that area, if they live by, can come in and just show up at 8 o'clock. We're doing it from 8 to 10 on Saturday.
Okay.
The second one's, of course, Luray, right off the boat landing and dog park. I can't miss that. And then out at Rick's place. So our biggest the biggest challenge is that it's kind of like a new restaurant opening up in Front Royal. There's a select group of people who show up, and they love it for about 6 months until
Right.
the next new restaurant opens up, and they all kind of shift over. With this third garden, we can't have people shifting. We need new people coming in to support the new garden. The Board of Supervisors, and I also say something for Walt May, he was the one that was supporting us, so he really pushed this. And his vision was to have a garden in each of the areas of the county. But it's a little harder because, Rick's in Vicky Cook's area, and also Luray is
Right.
in Vicky Cook's area. So it just so happens the land was available right there. And the other thing is, if we want to do this, the community has to come out and help us, because we just,
Yeah.
you know,
You end up with a small nucleus of people, and that's
Right.
just not enough. Because once you start, there's no turning back. I mean,
Well-
when the harvest comes,
but the challenge, Mike, is what happens is this is not really hard work, because people think, oh, it's too hot or it's too hard. We have really worked hard to make it these garden-friendly gardens.
right?
You know, we put a lot of ground cloth down all the place, and that's thanks to Rick. I saw his garden out there, and he just almost blankets the area. And the more we put that down, and the more straw we put down, the less weeds we put down, or will grow, and that way we're able to really get the maximum out. And the way we make things, we get them as high as they can, so you don't have to do a lot of bending over. The hardest thing we do is probably the green beans, where you have to kind of sit on a box and slide down the rows. But
Right.
other than that, picking squash, zucchini, it's really quite enjoyable and not real hard.
And it's only an hour or two at a time. It's not like you're going to be there for 12 hours. And
Well, no, but once the harvest starts, you can be there 15 minutes. The challenge we have, for you remember, is we'll get a big push on the people planting because that's fun. But then as the season goes on, we'll
it's
just
the hoeing and the picking and the weeding.
Well, it's no hoeing and picking. It's just showing up for that day. See, if we get somebody coming by every day and they pick whatever is available, they might get a little basket, and that's
Sure.
it. It takes 10 minutes to do it.
Right.
If we have to wait and then get a whole group of people out there trying to pick it all at once, that's what makes it
Yeah.
more difficult.
Yeah. So do we have any trouble this year or last year with deer or other?
Maybe in the Virginia Hill Garden once or twice,
'Cause
but
you don't have that fancy fence out there, do you?
Oh, no,
No,
we have
we
fancy
got it.
Oh, do
fences.
you?
yeah, we just
that
got
was
taller
Rick's
deer.
big
Oh,
problem.
we got taller deer. Well, they can get a running leap.
They can get a running leap because they don't have the woods.
Well, they got caught up in the top. I mean, we've come back where the top wire is down. You can see they
You-
didn't
you
like
can
that
see-
so much.
Yeah.
But no, the key of all this is the irrigation system,
Right.
and then of course the solar fencing on there to keep the animals out.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they look at that. That's their restaurant. That's a feast.
Well, we had one groundhog that went under the fence and came out on it. I mean, they're really intelligent animals. They really are. We said, "How's that groundhog getting in here?" And then we saw it right in the middle of the tomato patch. Remember,
Yeah.
it was a hole, and then on the other side it was a hole. So he went right
Oh,
under.
he
He's
made him, and he would waddle out when just as I was driving up, like, excuse me, I'm full, I'm just leaving. The garden is all yours.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing this again. This is your third year. Seems like
No, it's our fourth year.
I was going to say, it
Fourth
seems
year.
like you've
Yeah.
been doing this forever. We've been talking about
Yeah,
it
we have,
every
yeah,
year.
yeah.
So this is the 4th anniversary,
Right.
and I'm glad you're doing it. It's great. It's a great
Thank you.
work. It's good. The people that are helping get a lot out of it, and you help a lot of people
Right.
as well. And I think and help a lot of organizations. So it's a win-win for everybody, I think. So it's great.
Yeah,
That's
it was,
what we hope for.
It was really good. Well, my 2 adult sons with special needs volunteered a lot, and they really enjoyed it. And they learned a lot, and they were fine with digging, especially picking. They loved
Yeah,
to pick, and it was a good way for them to be part of the community.
Well, they
It was
felt
very
like they were
important.
accomplishing something.
They did.
And
They
when-
really-
anytime people can participate, that's the best thing in any kind of organization. If you just sit back and listen, but if you can get out there and do something and participate in it, the audience is much more engaged
Yeah, they
if
really
they
are.
can participate. Well, again, I appreciate all the work you do in our community. We'll get back together here in a month or two, and we'll see how, once they start coming up out of the ground, we'll show a few pictures, and I think that gets people excited. We see actually something, you plant it and you water it and you wait and you wait and you wait, and then you go away
There
for
it
the weekend
is.
and come back and it's up to here, so.
Well, it's really exciting this year. We're trying something very different. The farmer told us the best way to plant potatoes.
Okay.
Yes, and then we're all crossing our fingers on this one. He says, you just don't put them in. Last year, about killed us getting them out of the ground. I mean, volunteers were falling right and left on this because you actually got to dig in.
Sure.
This farmer said what you do is you just throw them on top of the ground, put a lot of straw on them, and then when you're ready to harvest them, you just pull the straw back and they're laying on top of the ground.
Well, there you go. That sounds like someone that's done this before.
Well, the qualifier of this, he says, yeah, I did it in a small patch and it really turned out well, so I'm going big time this time. So we just went right into big time, so we'll let you know.
Go
how
big
that
or
turned
go
out.
home. That's what we
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Again, I appreciate all the things you do. Let's get together in a month or two, and we'll talk about see how it's going, and we'll continue pushing for volunteers. We'll put all the information below here, or you can get hold of Fern and Mike and others to get the locations and the phone numbers to call. And remember, this Saturday they're looking for people to show up 8 o'clock at the gardens just to help plant some things.
So just put them in the ground.
Put them in the
That's all we
ground.
have to do. Yep.
You don't have to bring anything, just you, right?
Just you.
That's all you need.
Well, if you have a little
Garden tools.
garden
Oh,
tool, you can
garden
bring a
tool.
little garden
tools,
tool
yeah.
and dig
Yeah.
the hole a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we're bringing a big tractor, and it's not that big, but
No.
you got to do some manual labor.
We don't need rototillers for this one. We just
No.
did little hand things just to dig a little hole and pack it around.
We're good, and Mike will show you how to do it.
No,
Thanks again.
no,
I really,
Rick's going to show them how to do it.
yeah, yeah.
He's our instructor this year.
All right. Why not? One more thing to do. That's okay. One more thing. That's great. Appreciate it so much.
No, thank you.